Welcome to the show. We're your hosts, Grant Cohn, Jack Hammer. Jack, it was just a couple hours ago I finished up with Coach Noah Johnson. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about with Jack today. And then on cue, the 49ers, they always provide, which is why I love covering this team. Adam Schefter says Jimmy Garoppolo to have shoulder surgery. Still haven't heard about the thumb, and he's going to be sidelined until the summer. This is news. What's your take?
My take is that it's bad. It could be, but bad news for the 49ers. I don't, but at the same time, I'm not so sure. Teams that were going to be trading for Garoppolo, we already knew about the shoulder injury. We knew about the thumb injury. So I don't think it's going to drastically change what they're going to get in return for him. Because they already knew about it. And plus, at least from my side of it, I wasn't expecting them to get a second round pick in 2022. I was thinking it was going to be something in the middle. It was more about 2023 for them.
Interesting. I think that would be smart, actually, to get a 2023 pick to make it conditional based on however much playing time he has. A couple of things. My first thought was, it's March 1 and you still haven't had the surgery? What were you waiting for? The season ended a month ago, so that's the first thing. I was like, and then sidelined until the summer? I wasn't expecting that. And, if I were flirting with the idea of bringing Jimmy Garoppolo onto my team as a starter, this would kind of give me even more pause to think, well, he's not going to be on the field for OTAs and minicamp. We're going to have to do the crash course, get him ready, get the starter ready in 2 weeks in training camp. To me, I think this kind of cements his value right now at fourth round pick, which is what the Dolphins got for Tannehill. And the position is, I don't think anyone's looking at him you can't just bring him in as your starter. So I think that means he's a fourth. He could become your starter if Tua goes down or whoever he's backing up goes down. But I think I don't know. That's the way I look at it. What do you think? Fourth.
Yeah, I would say that that's probably what you're looking at in 2022. Yeah. If you're going to get anything better than that, it's going to be in 2023, and that's going to depend on what he does, how he plays, and how often he plays, and everything like that. And you're right. I mean, it's when you get a surgery, it's going to take some time, so it's going to be say 4 months. So early March, they said that's going to happen any day now, and so that makes sense that it could. Right, and it's his throwing shoulder, so he's not going to be able to throw, but he'll be able to work with the coaching staff and that kind of thing and kind of get himself mentally ready. But that was my first take. My first thought was he's not going to be able to get on the field, and that could cause some problems with the team wanting to make a move for him.
Barry Baller brings up a good point. A team is going to pay a $27 million backup. That doesn't make sense. No, but he has no guaranteed money left in his deal. So I would imagine whoever trades for him is going to do something. Either cut his salary or spread it over 2 years. If it's 20, let's make it a 2-year, $27 million deal. Something like, I don't know. They'll do something like that.
Yeah, that's what I think. I don't think there's anybody that's going to trade for him and keep his contract exactly the same way that it is now. I think you're getting a trade and you're going to, probably extend him for a year without guaranteed money, kind of convert all of his 2021 money into signing bonus and that kind of stuff so that you can move on if it doesn't work out.
Justin doesn't want me to talk. He tunes into my show but says, don't talk. That's a boring show, Justin. Just silence. I can't even see you. You want to look into my eyes? That's nice. All right. So Jimmy Garoppolo sidelined until the summer. Niners probably looking at a fourth round pick. Some team's going to have to figure out a way to tinker with his contract. Any idea which team is? I mean, we do this discussion every week, but now that we are learning more, what team do you think is the best fit for Jimmy in his current condition?
I think you're still looking. It's probably going to be Washington. I think would give you the best because they do have Tyler Heineke there. They could kind of fill in and get you by if it takes Garoppolo a couple weeks to get his feet underneath them. Yeah, so Washington would I think make the most sense. Again, still, I do like him going to Indianapolis because from everything that I hear, it doesn't seem like Indy is going to be moving forward with Carson Wentz.
Yeah,
so they don't have anybody there in place already. I'm not sure, which team of the teams that have quarterbacks. I think probably that have a quarterback need. I think you're probably looking at maybe New Orleans as a spot that could deal with it, and Washington. So 2 NFC teams there because if Indy's going that route and they're going away from Wentz, they really don't have any backup. So probably one of those 2 NFC teams.
New Orleans is interesting because they're now run by a defensive coach who got lit up like no one else by Jimmy Garoppolo. And may not have visions for developing a quarterback. Maybe he just wants a vet. Maybe New Orleans. I don't know if they can afford him, but that's interesting. Because what are their options?
Yeah, because otherwise they're stuck with do they bring back Jameis Winston or or Taysom Hill? Taysom Hill won some games for him last year. But that's a good point because New Orleans does have a defensive coach, and Washington is already kind of out there, and they have a defensive minded coach as well. So maybe that's what we need to be looking at.
Interesting. All right, let's do the George Kittle discussion. I thought this was going to be fun. No one had anything to talk about. I threw this out there. People got so mad at me on Twitter, like, you shut the hell up when you talk to me. So, Jack, is George just totally off limits? Am I way off base here? Is this not even a discussion?
I think he's off limits for right now. I don't think you want to move off of him this season with Trey Lance going into his first year as a starter. So I would say that
a compelling argument I've heard. That's a good argument.
I think he's off limits for this year. Is he off limits for 2023 and beyond? No, I don't necessarily think that.
That's what Dish said too. Can I just express my concern real quick and then you can go? I'm afraid that if he gets hurt again this year, and I think that's a fair concern, that his trade value will be significantly lower next year.
Yeah, I don't know what you would really expect to get for Kittle. If you're getting a first, it's probably from a team at the end of the first. Otherwise, it's probably even a second, right?
I agree. Yes.
And
I don't think Niner fans want to hear that, but that's the truth. That's where Kittle's value is at right now.
Yeah, I mean, if DeForest Buckner only gets you a 13, then Kittle doesn't get you anything better than that. It's a little bit further down the road, I think.
He's older. He was a 5th round pick. Yes, injuries.
Yeah. I mean, I saw what you put, and I disagree in that I disagree that it's something they should do now. I do understand where you're coming from though, because it does make sense to get a guy like Xavier Howard or something like that. So you can argue with trading Kittle, but if you listen to the whole thing, it's not completely crazy. Like people are saying, right? I mean, I put out a tweet.
I know people like Kittle a lot, but I also think Xavier Howard's a good player. They're both impact players. It's just, do you want to move one to the secondary? I've always been big on the secondary. A lot of Niner fans feel like it's totally irrelevant, but I think they're Parag Maraf bots. Marate. It's Marate. I'm so sorry, Parag.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would rather have Kittle and I don't know, somebody like Gilmore, right? I'd rather go that route than give up one of your best playmakers on offense. Because I understand that Deebo Samuel is your number one playmaker, but Kittle is right there when it comes to the passing game. He's in your top 3.
I guess the only way I end up winning this argument, and it doesn't make me happy, and I'm not trying to win this argument, is if Kittle gets hurt again. And I'm not rooting for Kittle to get hurt again. You don't wish that on any athlete, but at the same time, you got to be realistic, and I'm not a fan of the 49ers, and I look at him the way I would look at a player on the Rams or the Seahawks, and I'm just not betting on him to turn it around. Although he could. He certainly could, and if he does, I'm going to look really, really stupid for doing this for a week. Really stupid. So I'm putting myself out there. But at the same time, I feel very confident in a kind of a morbid way. Like, prove me wrong, George, please.
No, I think the other part too is if you look at, I keep seeing people talking about the you can't move Kittle because of his salary cap. Well, I disagree with moving Kittle. Right. The salary cap piece isn't the limiting factor that everybody thinks it is. If you make the trade especially if you're trading players, you don't have to make the trade now. You can make that trade after June 1. Right. And I believe if the 49ers would do that, both teams would benefit because the 49ers would not incur the dead cap hit that they dead cap only goes from like 12 to like 4, right? So that's doable. And on top of that, I think what they'd be adding for Howard is only about $10 million of his contract for that year. So, I mean, the numbers make sense if you really want to get down into that part of the argument. I just don't think you move on from Kittle. And really my biggest beef with you on this whole thing was really the Bill Walsh piece of it, to be honest with you.
You were right. But I had this before my time. He did say that, but then he didn't act on it. Seifert did. And then I had my facts wrong. He didn't trade freaking Craig or Lott, but actually what they did was just as cold. They just was like, you're under contract, now you're not. See ya. They essentially cut him. Very cold, the NFL. Anyway, you're right. I'm wrong. I should probably not talk about stuff that happened in the 80s because I really wasn't there. Sorry.
Well, and it's funny because I think that's something that Randy Cross might have even been the one that mentioned that whole thing and kind of started that whole thing. To be honest with you, I don't remember if Walsh really even said that or not. But
I'll have to ask my dad if Walsh ever said that to him directly. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just a
legend. It's a legend at this point.
Be honest with you, that was my biggest beef with you was that piece.
Because you went through it and I didn't, so that's fair. You can fact check me on stuff I didn't experience. That's fair.
And then as far as I just feel like you need to keep Kittle because I think Kittle's valuable, and I know that Deebo Samuel is the better player, but Samuel's only played one game more than Kittle in the last 2 years.
That's true. I mean, the thing with Kittle, again, it's not I'm afraid of perception. It's been 2 years in a row with Kittle, and he's almost 29. If it's 3 years in a row, I think that's you get a label at that point. Injury prone, downside of your career, approaching 30, not worth the contract. All of a sudden, it's like, can we trade that contract? Do we have to pick up part of it? The whole Jimmy Garoppolo thing. And I think Niner fans don't even want to go there mentally. It's not going to happen. Kittle's great. Even when he's hurt, he's out there. He's good. Yes, but eventually it's all going to fall apart. That's just how it goes with athletes. And I'm wondering if he's approaching that time a little sooner than we expected. That's my own thing.
They need to get somebody in, another tight end in here though that could replace him, because they don't have that on their roster at all right now. I mean, if you could, if we really want to go down this route, you can replace George Kittle in the passing game with the 49ers. It's a matter of, the running game, I think they might take a little bit of a step back, but in the passing game, you can do it with Juwan Jennings or, who are they?
And the next tight end that you sign. I mean, you wouldn't just start Ross Dwelly as much as he's the greatest tight end of all time. You would sign someone for half the price of Jimmy Kittle. Or
you're using Kyle Juszczyk more, which you should have been doing anyway, because he's one of your best receivers, and he can kind of play that tight end. He can run all those routes out of the tight end role.
Also, I want a couple more points here. Yes, the run game could take a hit, but it was 16th in yards per carry, and maybe going to 11-on-11 football could offset that a little bit. Then the other thing is, we don't know how Trey Lance is going to distribute who he's going to target. He started 2 games. One was with Kittle. In that one game, Kittle got 2 targets. Ayuk and Debo each got 6. So I don't know what Kittle's role is going to be with Trey. And the last thing, and this is something we don't know, can't really speak to, but it seems like there's a little bit of a purge on this team right now. If you're not 100% in with Trey Lance, we don't want you. Well, I don't know that, but I'm starting to get that vibe. And Kittle has been almost like the leader of the pack. And if there's any question about where his loyalties are, I'm just saying. Now, he could be Trey Lance's biggest supporter, and I don't know. So I don't want to say one way or another. I don't know. But that's a factor too. The tight end coach just got bounced. Maybe the tight end coach was a big Jimmy guy. Maybe I know Kittle's a big Jimmy guy, so that's one last thing to think about. Yeah. That could be a piece of it. I'm not sure on that piece as much because I have no idea. I just wanted to say it because I'm a muckraker. It's what I do.
you're what was it you got called yesterday? You're a something snake. I snake in the grass.
A greasy snake. That sounds worse than a regular snake. Snakes are bad enough. Now he's greasy. Damn. Sorry. What an image. Okay, so Kittle you and Vish are both wait a year. And I'm like, all right, man, I hope that even if he does get hurt, he's still worth a lot. Vish says Gronkowski got hurt relentlessly and he was still worth a lot. I'm a little worried about Kittle's value. That's all I'm saying. But I'm a worry word. It's what I do. I was raised that way.
That's your job.
It's my job. Okay, Vinny Boy says Jimmy Garoppolo, bad game, injury excuses. What? So throwing out shoulder excuse?
So he's saying that when Garoppolo has a bad game and I think he's what he's saying there's Garoppolo has a bad game and they use injury to excuse it. Mm-hmm. And then as far as the fear, they might fear that there's not enough interest. And so they're using the shoulder as a reason why they're not going to get what they were hoping to get.
It's not that no one wants him. It's that he's not quite available yet. Oh,
yeah.
I love that.
Or healthy enough to get a Gardner that first or second that people thought they were looking for.
Yeah. And it's funny, like we were supposed to start hearing news about the trade talks because everyone's at the combine. This is where things pick up. And what's the first thing you hear? He's not going to be ready for a while.
Yeah.
I just really hope he's back on the Niners next year so we can run it back. I want to run it back. Just for my own personal selfish reasons. LeBlue49 says, Grant, I'm with you about Kittle, but I would like to see what he looks like at the beginning with Trey Lance. Maybe revisit this trade at the trade deadline. That's reasonable. Mm-hmm. That's reasonable. Yeah. I mean, you could take it all the way up to the 11th hour here. That's perfect. The only thing is Kittle got hurt week 1 last year. Week 1. That's the one that gets me so much. It's like, what happened, George? I don't know, but it feels like someone's stabbing me in the calf. Well, that's great. That's wonderful. And it felt that way the whole year, huh? Yeah, okay. I mean, he gutted it out. Tough guy, but damn. How do you prevent that?
Yeah.
What's he supposed to do? Not my problem. Ryan says fans are attached to Kittle because he represents the culture of the Niners. True. Watching your tight end pancake guys on runs while laughing gets people. That is true. It's true.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, he has the whole WWE kind of like raw persona as well.
I think he was kind of the face of the team there for a little bit before Debo took over. I mean, it was never Jimmy. It was Kittle for a while. Now
Yeah,
it's
he
Debo.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the 49ers kind of tried to push Jimmy as the face, but it was more of Kittle, and now it's
yeah,
Debo.
yeah. DRB says we're glossing over the risk of a team trading a quarterback having throwing shoulder surgery. Luck retired after his. Cam Newton never looked the same. That is true. I think we all assume that it's not that serious because he played through it. But frankly, what the hell do we know about the dude's throwing shoulder? I guess maybe people are going to have to wait and see a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be. It could be.
Maybe they'll be like, we'll trade for him, but we want to see him in the preseason. And then the Niners will have to do the whole training camp thing and the quarterback competition. I hope, please keep Jimmy, please. Is there so much to ask? I think they need him. I don't think Trey's ready.
From a content standpoint, it couldn't get any better.
Couldn't get any better. Could not get any better. All right, let's talk Kyle Shanahan. He's making very interesting moves. And really, there's two ways to look at it. All these coaches leave the offense except for the offensive line coach. And you could either say they're bailing on Kyle, which was my first thought, or he's purging them, which was my dad's first. I went over to see my dad today, and he was like, oh, wow, Kyle's getting ruthless. I was like, oh, that's how you look at it. How do you look at it?
I look at it like he's under pressure and they need to make some changes because his offense was not good last year, especially at the end of the year, right? They were what in the middle of the pack, I think.
Yeah.
They didn't score very much in the postseason. I mean, you could use Garoppolo as an excuse, but I don't think
13th in points scored in the regular season, then it tanked in the playoffs. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and they weren't running the ball very well, and that's part of it as well.
Yards per carry, but despite Debo and Elijah Mitchell, not good.
Yeah, and so when you start to look through it, for me, I look at it. I see this as a coach who's not. I'm not trying to say he's on the hot seat, but I think there's some definite pressure there for Kyle Shanahan because the coaches that are leaving outside of Mike McDaniel aren't leaving for upgrades. Those are pretty much all lateral moves.
Unless Wes Welker definitely, Embry definitely. You could say Scangarello got an upgrade to be an offensive coordinator, but he went to freaking Kentucky,
right,
which is a basketball.
And he's a guy who's been an offensive coordinator in the NFL, so I don't consider that an upgrade for him. And then the only people that, and then you also have Betcher who left because it was a lateral move for Betcher on the defensive side. You have the special teams coordinator was a lateral move.
Bobby Turner just taking a year off. We're going to talk about him.
Yeah, so I don't. Yeah, Bobby Turner. I know that there's some. I don't think that is necessarily a Kyle related thing, but I think we put all these things together, and this points to a team and a coach that needs to show big improvement now that he's got Trey Lance.
Interesting. And it seems to me that, look, it's been pretty well documented that there was a very strong pro-Jimmy faction of this team. Not necessarily anti-Trey, but pro-Jimmy. And now that you're making the switch that you were afraid to make last year, if Kyle feels that there's any lingering resentment or somewhat people in the organization, coaches, players, that would undercut Trey at all, I mean, it's Kyle's duty to the team to get him out. Right?
Sure.
It's his duty. He doesn't have a choice.
Yeah, it would be, and I've heard that. I've heard people mention that when it comes with regards to Scangarello, for example. Sure. But that doesn't.
I don't know where they stand. I don't really know where they stand.
And that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because I know that supposedly he was pro Mac Jones prior to the draft, where
supposedly,
that's the rumor that's out there.
Yeah.
And but that doesn't mean that he didn't work with Lance just like he works with Garoppolo and tried to get him ready and those kinds of things. And if you believe that Trey Lance improved from training camp to week 5 to week 17, then Scangarello, I think, that kind of shows that he was all in on his job.
I'd like to think that this is Kyle reconfiguring his team around people who believe in his quarterback. That to me sounds like leadership. I would hate to think that this is a vote of no confidence from Kyle's underlings. I don't see it that way. It could be that way. Maybe they're tired of him all these years with him. I don't see it that way. I see this as Kyle taking control. Like last year, he was in the back seat. He was like, who do you guys want to be the quarterback? You tell me. Now it's like, it's Trey. And if that's not cool with you, hey, there's the Jets, there's the Dolphins. I can make your dreams come true, but not here.
Yeah, there's a couple. Here's the one thing. If he's getting rid of these guys because of the fact that they weren't pro Trey, that's a problem because he talked about wanting everybody to come into those discussions with an open mind and kind of everybody to throw it in and then make a decision based off of that. So if you're going to say that you wanted to have everything open, but then you're going to get rid of the guys that you don't
a year later, for being honest,
that's not fair. that's not a good thing. So
Yeah, that's true. It's
I,
true.
I don't really think that's as much of
Okay.
the case as it is with. I think he just needed to. They needed to show some improvement. You look at the receivers had a lot of drops. They were up and down at times. Look at what happened with Brandon Ayuk. Why was he on the bench for so long? Was that a Kyle thing or was that a Welker thing? The tight ends outside of Kittle were pretty mediocre. So I mean, you start looking through.
Bite your tongue when you talk about Ross Dwelly on my show, Jack.
Well, I mean, the People's tight end. I think he only had like 5 targets though.
I know, because Kyle's corporate. He doesn't understand what the people want.
That's right.
Ross will prove himself one day. You wait and see. But yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, like Charlie Warner, hard to say that he's super good, or I don't know. I just thought Kittle was enough for Embry. Like Embry created Kittle to an extent, but enough. Okay,
he found him.
He found him. But now they have Brian Fleury, so it's all good. He played quarterback in college, as did Blake Bell, who's now a tight end. So they're similar.
Yeah, and the one thing with Fleury, the good piece about that is he spent the last I don't know how many years working on shutting down tight ends, and now he's going to be helping tight ends get open. So
maybe he can shut down Kittle now. I'm sorry, Kyle's always been mediocre. He must prove his worth. I think it's time for his offense to take off. It's year 6.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's time. Chances coaches leaving are due to salary bumps. Could this all be about the Yorks being cheap? I'd like to think this is Kyle making strong choices.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's more of the.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Bobby Turner in particular, though. We learned yesterday that he's taking the season off at least. He's 73 years old. Fair enough. My dad's 76. He was retired by 73. That being said, he's so good. And he works magic with these running backs. And he did it again last year with Elijah Mitchell, like it was 1996 all over again. That's a blow.
Yeah, it is. It's a big blow. He's worked wonders throughout his career with draft picks. And I was looking at it today because I wanted to write something on this. But he's 4 of his top running backs that he's ever been a part of were taken in the 6th round. Alfred Morris, Elijah Mitchell, Terrell Davis, and the one other running back. I'm missing out on his name right now. With
Mike Anderson, Alandis Gary,
Mike Anderson. Anderson. Mike Anderson was also those 4 guys were all 6th round picks, and one of them ended up over 2,000 yards. And you pointed this out before, but even Terrell Davis, he had 4.7 yards per carry as a rookie, and so did Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Anthony Lynn should replace him. He's been a running back coach. He played for Mike Shanahan. Excellent coach. Different though, not Bobby Turner. It's going to be really interesting to see how the offense goes on without him, and if they're able to still get these undrafted free agent guys, running backs who are good, like they've been able to do over and over and over again.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see that. And it'll be interesting to see if there is a role for him. If he isn't on the staff as a coach, do they kind of keep him around? If it's because the other report was he's been having some stuff with his knee, and so it might be a knee surgery or something like that. If that's what it is, and he's just taking a year off, maybe he can still be around to help out with draft and things like that.
Yeah, like could he do what Mike Shanahan does, or just kind of like chills at home and then gets the practice tape on his iPad, just kind of does everything from his controller? Why not? Right.
Yeah. Work from home. Make it a lot easier.
Way easier. We got it, Bobby. They need to keep Bobby involved, because to me, he's like the MVP of the offensive assistant coaches. And he's not there anymore. He's like the Chris Kosarick of that. He allows you to. I still don't understand why they freaking signed Jerick McKinnon, traded for Trey Sermon. You have Bobby Turner. Did he want you to do that? Or were you like, Bobby, I got this one? Like, what? Why would you do that?
Yeah. Or remember Joe Williams? Was Bobby on board with Joe Williams?
I was.
Or was that all Kyle? I know you were, but I know Kyle wasn't Kyle pounding the desk for him?
I was too. I think I was nailing it. Tell him, Kyle. He's great. Look what he did against UCLA, a football powerhouse. All right, last one. What do you make of the Niners coaches not going to the combine? And it's not just the Niners coaches. It's a little bit of a trend this year. Coaches not going to the combine. What's up with that?
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where there's not, as a coach, what are you going to get? What are you gathering at a combine that you can't already see on
hand times? Who's the one that always does that? That's always there at the end.
I'm not sure which one it is. Was it Bulky? Maybe it was Bulky.
Maybe Bulky. The hand time's got to get that hand time, man.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Those, as far as the coaches go, they can do their thing at least with the 49ers this year, right? The 49ers have a bunch of new guys on their staff, so they need to kind of get that group together because they're going to be having practices before we know it with their offseason program. So they need to get everybody kind of in and going, and then let the personnel guys go out and do the interviews and those kind of things, and then they can watch the film from the combine in Santa Clara, and then they can bring in the 30 players. Was it 30 up to 30? I think that they can bring in to talk if they want to talk to them face to face, and they can always pick up the phone like old Bobby Turner used to do.
You know, one reason why the Niners coaches aren't going to the combine? They don't have any coaches.
That's
Who are you going to bring?
Right.
I mean, they're all gone. Like, there's no wide receiver coach. Hey, what do you think of these? They don't have one. So to me, it seems like Kyle has a lot of work to do on his end. Like, fill out the coaching staff.
He does. He does. Yes. Yeah, I mean, we know he promoted he's got his tight end coach and wide receiver coach figured out, but he still has other coaches that he needs to figure out on the offensive side of the ball too. He needs
quarterback coach is the big one.
Yeah. Quarterback coach, and maybe they don't even hire a quarterback coach until right before training camp. That would be the smart way to go based on who I think we both think they should hire.
Right, because if it's Beck, they can't get him yet. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Coaches can't go into the combine. Got to hire some coaches before they can go.
Yeah, you need to have you either need to hire them, or you need, especially look at what they're getting on the defensive staff. They've just hired 2 kids basically out of college, only a few years of experience for either one of them. Then they've basically just been at the grad assistant level in college, and now they're going to become, quality control guys at the NFL level, which is very similar. The jobs are pretty much the same. A grad assistant and a quality control coach in the NFL are pretty much the same thing. So they'll be able to transition over, but they need to get those guys into the system, and it'll be interesting to see how they transition them.
Maybe not having a first-round pick plays into this somewhat as well, because those first-round picks are organizational decisions. You need the head coach to know the player. Maybe now he's just like, dude, it's the 61st pick. I trust you. John, I don't care. I trust you.
Yeah, that's it, and exactly that's the other part of it too, right? They've been together for long enough where Lynch and Peters know what they're looking for in terms of the players and the type of player that Shanahan wants. So they can go out there and do the grunt work and talk about who they're going to trade and all that kind of stuff and get that stuff going. Well, Shanahan's out here doing his work with his coaching staff.
True, and it doesn't sound like there's a whole lot of discussing that's happening right now on the Jimmy Garoppolo front. That's more like why don't you check back with us in about 4 to 6 months?
Well, they said the trade's supposed to be done in this month. That's what they're saying. I mean, that's what Schefter said. Schefter said that it's still going to be done.
I want drama. I want the drama. It's true. Kawakami said it too. And Kawakami said 4th round picks, 2/4. 2/4? I'd take 1. But as you said, it's smarter to get the conditional in 2023. Kyle, if you're listening, and I know you are, take the conditional in 2023. It's a smart play.
Yeah, or at least maybe Debo can let him know.
Debo blocked me on Twitter, which means he's definitely not going to be watching me on YouTube. That's how these things work. Merkin Avalo says maybe Kyle was focused in the Trey Lance offense this season and let the other coaches handle the That's why it was stale this season with flashes here and there. Kyle in his bag this upcoming season. Can't wait. I like that. Maybe he didn't go to the combine because he's drawing up plays for Trey like he theoretically did last year.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, there you go. He's working on his iPad. He's drawing up some new stuff that we haven't seen before.
I really hope so. Kyle, can you give Trey a fair shot here? Kyle is always so dissatisfied with his quarterback. And I can't. I got it. Can you just have some enthusiasm like Harbaugh used to have for Kaepernick?
Just be positive?
Just be positive. That's your guy. You picked him. Mm-hmm. Stop acting like people forced you to coach these guys. Instead of trading for players, Kyle is trading coaches for picks.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we have so many 3rd-round picks, right?
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. I look at this whole thing, and as far as like the Trey Lance stuff and the new plays with Lance, I just want to see them use Trey Lance in the way that they use Jimmy Garoppolo, because if they do that, I think he's going to have a really good career. I know we're going to get some runs and things like that, but you just need to run your offense and let him make the plays, because he's going to play different than Garoppolo.
Like, is he going to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL? That's to be determined. But if you surround him the way you surrounded Garoppolo and call the games the same kind of way where it's run focused, hard to lose, hard to fail. There's too much going your way. It's almost You're not asking the quarterback to do a whole lot. You're really not.
No, I don't know. They're not. And if they, and I just feel like if they continue that, you're going to get more out of Lance anyway, because he's going to take those shots down the field that Garoppolo doesn't take or can't take.
Yeah, I would think that Kyle Shanahan, with a physically gifted quarterback who, is a little rough around the edges, he could work with that. I would think he could work with that. I don't know if Dennis Allen can, but I think Kyle Shanahan can. I mean, he essentially did that with Jimmy. Their edges are rough in different areas.
Yeah, and they're not that much different to begin with. I mean, other than the fact that Lance is bigger, stronger, and faster, they're pretty similar in the way that they play the game.
True.
Garoppolo's more in the middle, Lance a little bit more to the outside, but it's something he just needs to get. The biggest thing with these guys is they need to get on the same page. Trey Lance talked about that during Super Bowl week, about the need for him and Shanahan to be seeing the game the same way. And really for the 49ers, that's the biggest issue facing this team, is if those two guys can get on the same page. Because if they can, then that's going to help things out. Because I think some of the inconsistency we saw from Lance in the beginning of games in week 5 and week 17 was Shanahan them not seeing the game the same way. Like, things being open and he's not throwing the ball because he doesn't see it the same way that Shanahan does.
Right. And Shanahan spoke about that a little bit too. He also said, I don't really have a great feel of calling plays for him yet. And we saw that in the first start. That was discouraging. But as the second start went along, it was extremely encouraging, I thought. The way Kyle called plays in the second half was exactly how I saw him call plays in training camp at times, where it's like, I have a lot of confidence in this guy, which was nice because I don't really see him call plays like that ever. It's always like, I have no confidence in my quarterback. I'm the greatest. Let me do what I can do. It's been that way for half a decade. I know it wasn't in Atlanta, but it's nice to see Kyle get back to, hey, let's let him air it out. Yeah. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, but this could all be for nothing. It could all be Jimmy Garoppolo again next year. I don't know.
We'll see. That'll be fun. I mean, I know you're hoping for it. I'm right there with you.
Hey, Grant, nice jacket. Hope you're doing well, guys. Thank you, Jose Julio Flores Campos. Appreciate it. Yeah. Off topic, I feel like playing running back as a rookie takes a certain number of snaps to open your eyes vision-wise. Let Sermon cook. We haven't seen enough.
I mean, that's an interesting take. That runs counter to what John Madden always used to say. John Madden's thing was, running backs, you usually tell right away whether running back's going to be good or not, because they either can see or they can't.
What was interesting about Sermon and Banks, before we go, is when they were both drafted, everyone was like, I don't see the fit. This is an outside zone team. I don't know how much of an outside zone team this is going to be. I mean, first of all, they did a lot of tosses. It wasn't exactly, they do a lot of stuff. They do a lot of gap scheme stuff. But now that they have Trey Lance, they might be a more straight ahead team. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're going to see both of those guys play a bigger role in the team in 2023, coming up this season. And I agree with that. That's the direction that they're going is towards maybe a little bit bigger up front and a little more power in the middle. I mean, that's the way that I saw Elijah Mitchell was a between the tackles kind of runner, and he doesn't really get outside very often. Even when he's running the tosses, it's usually right off the edge. So I think that's the direction they're going to take.
Same with Sermon. I mean, the guy who gets to the edge is freaking Debo.
Yeah,
Debo and Mostert if they bring him back. I didn't really even see Lance get to the edge. That was the biggest surprise of watching him in the NFL, was his struggle to get to the edge. A lot of times it felt like he was throttling back and forth between second and third gear. I was like, dude, can you just run as fast as you can to the sideline and see if you can beat a defender there? That was strange to me. What did you think about that?
I agree. That was one of the biggest concerns for me, is because, when we watched him
can do that.
Yeah, because when we watched him in North Dakota State, you see it. When you watch him on film, though, in college, you saw him run a lot, but he didn't run outside a lot. It was usually between the tackles. That's why you and I both said the same thing. He was very the ball. It was mostly between the tackles, and with like quarterback power runs and ISOs and things like that, where he had lead blockers and traps and stuff like that, instead of the read option where he's taking off around the edge. And so I think that's the other piece is, does he have we know that he's fast once he gets himself going, but does he have that ability to get going right now?
Yeah. And I think we saw Kyle understand that about his skill set. He called all those quarterback powers and traps, draws in the first start, which is good for his skill set, but at the same time, it's not good for his long-term durability. I think the most effective runs for him will be scrambles. If you open up that A gap or B gap, goodbye. And I think John Elway used to do that a lot too. That's before my time. You'd You'd have to know that better than me.
No, I mean out back in the day with Elway, it was always the quarterback draw was
Yeah,
really, it was either quarterback, the running was quarterback draw. They ran him usually a couple times a game on a quarterback draw.
that would be
Otherwise he was
effective. That would be
yeah.
effective for Lance. Yeah.
Otherwise, he was scrambling around and making plays like that. And
Yeah.
I could see Lance doing all those things. I just don't
Yeah.
want to see Lance being used as a running back anymore. That's my only concern. And they need to they've shown that he's not the one thing that you need to be concerned about with this offense moving forward with Trey Lance is they struggled in 3rd and short and 4th and short situations with him in his starts. And
Yes.
part of it, I think, was because instead of just running their offense, they were getting a little cute by having him be too big of a part of the running game.
Yep. That's true. I do want to point out the NFL's changed a lot, but John Elway's a lot since the 80s and 90s. But John Elway's completion percentage for his career was 56.9. I mean, he had some great years where he completed less than, like, he won the Super Bowl in 97, completing 55% of his passes. So the Shanahans can work with a quarterback who isn't necessarily efficient, but has big playability. They've won. His dad has won 2 Super Bowls with one. I mean, John Elway was a little bit different than Steve. Steve Young was highly efficient. John Elway was a little bit different.
Yeah, John Elway was more of a push the ball down the field quarterback and that's part of the reason why his completion percentages were lower, because he was pushing the ball and taking throws, maybe throwing in balls that you wouldn't want your quarterback to throw, but he felt like he had the arm to get it in there.
Yeah. So completion percentage isn't necessarily the best tool to evaluate Trey Lance's readiness. Just pointing that out there. I'm not saying he's the next John Elway. I'm just saying if he's pushing the ball down the field, that's going to be good in and of itself.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we saw from him.
It is, absolutely. Bring Harbaugh as a quarterback coach. People don't understand. These position coaches' jobs are not glamorous. They don't pay a whole lot, and you work, I mean, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's ridiculous.
They're long days, long hours, and you're, like you said, those guys aren't getting paid very much at all.
You're in a new city every 3 years. It's tough. You have to find a wife who's cool with that. Kids who don't hate you. I mean, it's very hard lifestyle. Very hard.
And, there's no way that Jim Harbaugh would do that. No. He's locked in Michigan. He's a Michigan man.
It's always like, you got to get Joe Montana to be the quarterback coach. Do you understand how little he wants to do that? Are you kidding?
No, Joe Montana wants no part of that.
He just wants to say how bad the Niners are doing and how every decision they make is wrong. God love Joe Montana. We have the same inclination on that one. Anyway, it's a little bit of a shorter show today. Thank you thank you, Jimmy Garoppolo, for providing today. Thank you, Adam Schefter. Thank you, 49ers. We are always appreciative when news drops. And this is Combine Week, so we'll be learning a little bit about a bunch of people who probably won't be 49ers. I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think there's going to be too many of these guys that are being highlighted that we're going to see coming around for the 49ers when their pick comes up at 61, if that's where they're stuck. So it's fun. Watch these guys run around, listen to people talk, usually some news breaks. So that's the good part about it.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you guys soon. Take care.